Hi, creative souls. This is Chris Kaz, the podcast. I'm Chris Gasadasneri. So, this is a space for you soulpreneurs out there, you creative visionaries who are following the call of your heart. In fact, following the call of your heart is exactly what differentiates a soulpreneur from traditional entrepreneurship. The soulpreneur is always aiming to be in alignment with their highest truth, and this show is for those of you on that path and on the healing journey. So, in fact, I've actually created a quick and fun quiz where you can discover your soulpreneur archetype and discover where your strengths lie. Are you more of that intuitive visionary type? Are you more of the mind magician? Or are you that passionate, fiery action alchemist? Find out at the link below. It's super fun and it could help you with your next big breakthrough. So, if you've been listening, I know this is a new podcast, but in the previous episodes, we've been breaking down how to actually hear our intuition and what steps we take when we are beginning to follow the calls of our hearts. And today, I want to talk about the journey of actually trusting ourselves. A lot of times, people will find themselves in a place where they know they're starting to listen to the voice within. They're beginning to meditate, maybe consciously doing some healing work or spending time in prayer. And they can kind of hear or feel what they want to change in their life. And then that's as far as they get because what their inner guidance is pointing them to maybe isn't the most convenient, maybe it's scary, maybe it's overwhelming. And that's okay, it can kind of be a lot sometimes when we've lived our whole lives not taking care of our energy body, doing any energetic cleansing or healing. And then when we tap into spiritual work, sometimes it can feel like a lot when we begin to open those doors. And it can be seemingly intimidating. But maybe while I'm in meditation, you felt something that even if for a short moment, it felt so true. Maybe you had a vision. Maybe you saw something from the future of what your life could look like. And you're like, wait a second, that's too good to be true. I don't really think this is going to turn out the way that I saw. Or am I just making this up? How could this possibly be? I mean, I'm only who I am. I only have like this much education. I don't have that much experience. And on and on and on we go. And so we put those instincts down, the intuition down, and we say, I don't want to water that seed. But what we are really doing in that moment is we are giving the fear of our ego more power than our inner knowing, than the guidance of the divine, even. The knowing that comes from our intuition, from something higher than ourselves. We're saying, no, I don't believe you. How many times have we done that? Like, I know that I've definitely done that. I probably do it all the time, honestly. And many years ago, when I would start to experience my intuition for what it is, I would feel things like telling me that I'm supposed to be doing healing work. And at that time, it scared the crap out of me. I would talk myself into every reason why that would never happen and why that never could happen. I tried to block myself with like these parameters of these reasons why this is just not possible. But in reality, I was so drawn to this work. I was like a moth to the flame. And God was putting situations in my life that pointed me to it. And I still had the list of logical reasons why it would never happen. That's crazy, right? But when you begin to learn to follow your intuition, you kind of go on this magical ride. And here I am today as the woman I saw in my prayers, as an intuitive, as a coach, and an energy healer. And part of me wishes sometimes that I, could have just cut to the chase and believed in myself and believed God, the universe, like, but there was just so much fear and ego there. And I had to learn how to trust first. And that's life. That's the journey here. We are all exactly where we're meant to be. So, where does the message stop for you? What is that thing that you've been seeing in your meditations, that you've been desiring? Because desire comes from our intuition as well. Where does that message stop? Where does the intuitive hits that we get from our highest self, from the universe, from creator, where does it stop? And the answer to that is that it usually stops at the ego. But the beautiful thing about that is that in this life experience, it's often the lessons we learn as we overcome our greatest fears that bring us the greatest liberation. It's not even just the liberation of getting past your fear, it's also everything that you've learned and acquired along the way, because those little tiny things changed you. If I just jumped from that person I was a few years ago to who I am now, I wouldn't have the in between. That change wouldn't be sustainable. I wouldn't have any lessons to pass on. And then when I had another inevitable thing come into my life where I had to make a hard choice, I wouldn't have the wisdom of being in that same situation this past previous years. And so I no longer want to jump from being who I am now to who I'm going to be in 10, 15, 20 years. I want the in between. If you don't have doubt or trust, you wouldn't be learning anything. And it's in the learning where we evolve, where we begin to energetically release and we begin to heal. And then we start embodying the person that we were created to be. So we need to go easy on ourselves, right? We need to have grace for ourselves when we're having a hard time, when we're having a hard time with courage and or with trust or surrender. And we need to remember that the universe is always conspiring in our favor. And so soulpreneurs who are trying to follow that intuitive voice, you're strong enough to handle it. You are brave enough to handle it. And the healing and the work you do is rippling out into your community, into the lives of the people you love, into your ancestors and your future ancestors, into the people that you serve and inspire. You are literally changing the fabric of this collective forever. And we need you. So don't be afraid when you're in those tough spots and you don't know if you can take steps towards doing the things that you know right here that are supposed to come true one day. So, to be in alignment with your intuition, the feeling is like you have this little moment. Maybe you see in a prayer or meditation, or you see somebody else doing out in the world, and you're just overcome with this feeling of like, oh, that's for me too. It's this deep, deep knowing, deep below the surface. It's warm. It's kind of like the heavens seem to part, right? And you have this complete trust and belief of like, yes, that's the path for me. Or that could also become true for me in my life. I could do work like that. Or maybe I could be that kind of person. Or maybe I can help my family in this way or serve my community in this way. When we all recognize truth when we see it, every single one of us, because we all have the greatest beacon inside of us that literally is truth itself. It's kind of like just for a moment, things seem to be written on this wall and you have this beautiful moment that sticks with you, that changes you. And then bloop, back to reality, right? You open your eyes or you wake up or you snap out of it and you think, wait, who am I to do that? But I promise you, if you listen, if you go out there and you listen to the people who are living the kind of life that you want, if you go out there and look at people who have the types of lives that you want and listen to what they have to say about following their heart, you're going to find a lot of people who know that manifestation is real, that trusting your heart is real, that believing something in something bigger than you will serve you. And that you get to decide to say yes or no to the callings of your heart. It is our free will choice. Do you want to be that kind of person who tries? And I know I want to be the kind of person who tries. So it feels like you get these little blessings, where the universe says, hey, I know this isn't your reality right now, but this is what it feels like for a hot second to be that person. And everything's feels like this full body yes. Another way that we know that something is in alignment for us is magnetism. There's this energetic pull that calls you towards it when something is for you. So let me give you this example, okay? When I first discovered the world of energy healing, I didn't know that it existed in the first place. But once I did, I swear it was like my curiosity just exploded. I mean, anyone who knew me like growing up knows that I was always talking about things like ghosts or growing up in a haunted house or my dreams. I was always talking about things like that because I didn't really have any other outlet than that. So when I ran across the energy healing world, which I don't think was any accident, I think, God was waiting for divine timing. It was like discovering something that I didn't know I already knew. So it was like walking into a room where everybody's speaking another language, and all of a sudden you realize, hey, I know exactly what they're talking about. I know what that means. I think, oh, you know what? I have some input on that. I think I see it this way. And you're like, well, I don't even know I could speak this language. It was just like that. It's like your soul is familiar with it. It's like your soul remembers. So there was this woman, and she was in my energy healing course that I gave. She was one of my students. And I remember her writing to me and telling me, maybe she sent me a voice memo or something. And she just said, I can't explain it, but I feel like I've always known this stuff. And that's what it's exactly like. You can't explain it. You're like, I'm baffled. Nobody taught me this in this lifetime, but you just know you are going where you belong. It's a beautiful feeling. So it could be about learning about something. Follow that curiosity, follow that spark that says, like, huh, makes your like hair, the hair on the back of your head stand up a little bit, or you get chills, or all of a sudden you're just intrigued. So, other feelings that we have when we're doing something we're supposed to be doing, and I don't just mean like careers, right? Like this could just be hobbies, okay? This could just be learning something new. This could be, painting a picture one night. But one of the biggest ways you're following your heart is when you feel joy when you're doing it. I think that we often forget that we're supposed to feel joy. You just become so happy, doing this work. And in this show, we're going to talk to those of you who are doing this stuff as your jobs, or who are trying to do this as your job, who are trying to change the world in your own unique way. So you're going to know what I'm talking about when I say you're just kind of obsessed, but in like this healthy way. I was laughing with my husband last night because I was talking about recording this episode today. And then I go off on like this 5-minute long impassioned tangent with this new perspective on something that I hadn't seen before. And I'm laughing at myself. And I'm like, wow, okay, I know it's time to do this show because I need an outlet for it, because this stuff just flows out of me. I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop living it. I love it so much. I want to talk to other people who get it too. I want to talk to you women who want your lives to be led by your heart, but you want to put you're dedicated to doing your work in this life. That curiosity within you is coming from your soul, and it is guiding you towards something that is in alignment for you in one way or in another. You just know that you're supposed to be following the intuition instead of all the fear. One of my other favorite things that happens when you begin to get into what we call flow is that the universe just kind of conspires to help you along the way. The universe will put people, experiences, teachers, courses, books, podcasts, YouTube channels, friends, neighbors in your life that you're supposed to interact with, that are going to inspire your next step. You're going to run into somebody at the grocery store that validates a prayer you just had, 30 minutes before. It was, let's see, maybe 2 weeks ago. And I was kind of having one of those like rough days where you're like, is any of the work I do any good? If you're a passionate creator like I am, I bet you know what I'm talking about. And I was just doubting myself. I was so full of doubt. And I was like, I just asked, I'm like, please God, let me know if I'm supposed to be doing this, or because I'm about to put all my energy into this new thing that I think I'm supposed to be doing. Can you validate this for me? I swear to you, right after I made that request, I got a message from somebody that wanted to let me know how special the work that I do is and how much they value that I am in their life. It was like, wow, are you kidding me right now? So you will experience little moments like that where you're like the little, are you kidding me moments? And over time, you never stop being amazed, but you get less and less surprised, but they also don't stop being any more special. So maybe it will be you having a beautiful conversation with a family member that's exactly what you needed in that moment to help you with some fears that you've been going through. Like these little pieces just start to fall into place for you. And you have to learn and open your eyes to see them and to receive them and to feel grateful for them. You feel the great spirit, source, the creator speaking to you through life. And you could feel these little moments are just for you because they are. And they're for every single one of us because that's how beautiful this life is. That's how infinite this love is. So don't be deterred if things also at times feel a little bit difficult. Once I started diving into my own healing work, there has absolutely been times where, for a moment or so, I thought I couldn't take it. And that's when I would seek out support, guidance basically from people who knew how to do this work and who could guide me, and then I can learn from them. But looking back now, I know that it was those trials that made me who I am. And now, why? Because when things are really difficult, that's when your ego and your mind are freaking out. Those difficult moments are happening because you're about to experience your greatest growth. You are literally changing. So your ego, your mind are freaking out because you're changing and you're rewiring neural pathways. You're changing the way you respond to things. That your body, your nervous system, your brain, it's all new. And you're doing things differently. So the ego has like what we call ego deaths over and over again as you change the way you show up in life. It's called ego death for a reason. It seems scary, but man, it feels good to let that shit go and to start being more of who you really are. And that's why it's really important for me. And that's why I was called to start this show, this space for you women out there, the visionaries, the creators who want to birth things in this world and who are also embracing the healing journey. That is you following your soul and doing big things. You're the visionaries and the change makers. You are creating, you are the leaders of the future. And I know from experience what that journey can feel like at times. And I want to be here for you. I want to remind you that you are not alone, and together we can do this. I remember when I was first doing energy healing stuff and I would Google, like that was the only way I ever felt support is Google. And I would Google things like, what is it normal to be crying all the time and, feeling all your old childhood wounds come to the surface? I didn't know what was happening. I didn't understand what healing was. And there was like podcasts and things like really good blog posts that really helped me in those little moments. That's when I knew those were my little breadcrumbs that were like, you're okay. You're going somewhere new. And it feels lonely because you don't know anybody doing it. But I promise you, I am now surrounded by women who do this work, aligned, beautiful women. So you're not alone. Don't be afraid if at times it feels difficult. Call on the guidance that you believe in too, right? Both other people who have experience, who are in alignment. But I call on my angels, I call on God, the universe, the great spirit. I use all those words, by the way, because I don't know, they just all feel good to me and they all mean the same thing to me personally. So enter your, verbiage here. And so that healing journey right there is quite the process. And I don't want to undermine that, but also I'm down for miracles, right? I absolutely believe in the power of beautiful things happening with little effort. But also, when things are more difficult, don't be deterred because you are learning how to actually do things in a new way from the ground up. You are on the battleground. You're walking the talk, you're doing the work, you're getting your hands dirty. If all of our dreams and everything were just answered right away, we wouldn't have any of the middle ground. We wouldn't truly know what it is to be a human, to struggle, to feel depression or sadness or resistance. So just because it doesn't feel good doesn't make it wrong sometimes, but we're always going to leave the door open to miracles. Man, the benefits to following your intuition are just endless. And for me personally, I think about how special and sacred life is. And so when I catch myself in a lot of fear and anxiety, which is something that I've always struggled with, and I remind myself that I have nothing to fear when I know who's guiding me. I have nothing to fear, even when this world doesn't understand it quite yet. It really doesn't matter. I have this one life to live. We all have this one life to live, and it is so worth it to really feel alive. We can stop feeding our energy to our fear. We can start channeling our energy into the heart and into the health of our energy bodies. So I hope that these words help you gain some clarity on maybe where you've been feeling stuck, or maybe where you've been subconsciously investing your energy into fear instead of the knowing that comes from within. In the next episode, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite topics, timing your action, knowing when to rest, and knowing when the moment to drop your precious energy into your work is the most potent. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, share this with somebody you love who you think maybe needs these words today. Thank you for listening to Chris Kaz, the podcast. See you next time, Creative Souls.